In the Sicilian countryside, crime lord Lorenzo Vitale and his grandson stumble upon a shocking scene at their vineyard. Lifeless bodies lay strewn, prompting Vitale to venture inside alone. There, he discovers his 3 associates holding Robert McCall hostage at gunpoint. McCall coolly explains that he had come for something that had been wrongfully taken from him. With a 9-second ultimatum, McCall swiftly eliminates the trio, leaving Vitale wounded and crawling. The ruthless intruder finishes the job by dispatching Vitale with a shotgun blast to the head. As McCall departs with a bag in hand, Vitale's grandson catches sight of him. McCall instructs the boy to remain in the car, but the young heir retaliates by shooting him in the leg before fleeing. McCall drives as far as he can until he succumbs to unconsciousness. It is then that Officer Gio Benucci discovers him and transports him to the local doctor, Enzo Aricio. Enzo advises Gio to fabricate a tale of McCall falling if anyone inquires about his injuries. After a few days, McCall awakens to find himself in the town of Altomonte. He forges a bond with Enzo, who assists him in finding shelter. When Enzo questions McCall's moral character, he confesses his uncertainty. Haunted by memories of his late friend Susan Plummer, McCall is plagued by visions of the methodical elimination of the men at the vineyard. McCall also befriends Gio and his daughter Gabby, both welcoming him into their lives. The following day, McCall returned to the restaurant only to witness a scene of coercion unfold before his eyes. A member of the Mafia was extorting money from the restaurant owner and giving to Marco, the notorious leader, lurking in the shadows. Amidst the tension, Amina introduced herself to McCall and welcomed him. In Altomonte's market, as McCall continued through the city, he stumbled upon another confrontation, this time at a fish market, where Marco and his cronies demanded tribute from a fish market owner, Angelo. Marco 40 harasses a fish vendor named Angelo for not giving him what he wants. Marco demands that Angelo give him what he wants the next time he shows up. With growing unease, McCall realized the pervasive grip of the Mafia on the city's inhabitants. Later on, McCall contacts the DIA and speaks to Emma Collins, informing her about his findings at the vineyard in Sicily and suggesting that she investigate further. Collins, accompanied by her partner Frank Conroy and a team, discovers 11 million euros and a large stash of narcotics at the vineyard. Collins eventually locates McCall in Altomonte and begins communicating with him about their findings. Marco and his brother Vincent are part of the Camorra, a mafia group that terrorizes Altomonte. Marco visits Vincent while he is in a meeting with a couple who refuse to sign over their building for Vincent to turn it into a hotel. In response, Vincent has the wife's wheelchair-bound father thrown and hanged from a window, leaving his corpse as a warning to others. Gio receives a phone call informing him that his daughter Gabby left school early, and when he asks her teacher, he discovers that one of his officers took her. Gio rushes home to find Gabby and his wife Chiara being held captive by Marco and his goons. They threaten Gio and tell him to stay out of their business. During the night, McCall witnesses people running when they hear a bell ringing. He sees that Angelo's shop has been set on fire, and Angelo and his wife can only watch helplessly as it goes up in flames. McCall notices that Marco and his goons are sitting back and watching the destruction, giving him a clear target to pursue. Collins, viewing a news report about a terrorist attack in Rome, suspects that the Syrian terrorists, widely believed to be responsible, might not be the actual culprits. This suspicion stems from the information she has gathered from McCall, particularly their discovery of Syrian drugs at the vineyard. She confides in Conroy, explaining her belief that this attack is part of a larger plan. Unsurprisingly, Vincent discusses his ambition to expand their operations across the entire coast and admits that the terrorist attack was strategically executed. As Collins tries to approach her car, she gets caught in an explosion and is subsequently hospitalized, but miraculously survives. At a restaurant where Gio is having dinner with his family, Marco approaches him to request assistance in obtaining boats from Somalis. During this encounter, Marco notices McCall observing him and confronts him. McCall warns Marco of the consequences if he continues threatening Gio's family and proceeds to immobilize Marco's hand by applying pressure to a nerve, causing excruciating pain. Eventually, McCall forces Marco's goons to exit the restaurant. Outside, Marco plans retaliation, but one of his goons is fatally struck by a van, already incapacitated by McCall. McCall eliminates the final goon before engaging in a fight with Marco, ultimately disarming him and causing Marco to fatally stab himself. Upon discovering his brother's demise, Vincent is visited by Chief Barella, who appears to be collaborating with the Camorra. During their encounter, Barella issues threats, prompting Vincent to stab his hand and have his goons sever Barella's hand before sending him to the hospital for reattachment. Seeking revenge, Vincent formulates a plan. Vincent and his goons travel to Altomonte, launching an attack on Gio. They fire a gunshot near Gio's ear and threaten to harm him and his family unless the person responsible for Marco's death reveals themselves. McCall steps forward, offering himself as the target and demanding that Vincent spare everyone else. Just as Vincent is about to kill McCall, Enzo fires a rifle, coming to McCall's defense. The residents witness the confrontation, capturing the villains on their phones and prompting them to flee just before the arrival of the police. Vincent returns to his headquarters and begins strategizing an attack on Altomonte the following day. However, McCall has already located them and starts eliminating Vincent's gang members one by one. In a dramatic turn of events, Vincent is startled awake by the blood of one of his goons dripping onto him from the ceiling, followed by the body crashing through glass. Attempting to escape, Vincent is knocked unconscious by McCall. Upon regaining consciousness, Vincent realizes that McCall has administered a lethal dose of the drugs found at the vineyard, giving him only moments before his heart fails. In a desperate attempt to flee, Vincent rushes into the street with McCall trailing behind him, and he is struck by a passing car. Despite his efforts, the crime lord succumbs to his fate shortly thereafter. After these events, McCall pays a visit to the hospital where Collins is recovering. He confesses to her that his true purpose in coming to Sicily was to recover pension funds stolen by the criminals for someone he knew. Leaving Collins with a bag filled with the reclaimed money, McCall departs. Collins travels to Boston to meet with the individual McCall mentioned earlier. Overwhelmed with emotion and gratitude, the man and his wife are relieved to discover that their stolen funds have been returned. Upon her return to work, Collins receives a little black book from McCall containing details of his personal gatherings, along with a note that reads, "Your mother would be so proud of you." In a poignant moment, Collins gazes at a photograph on her desk, revealing that she is Susan's daughter. Meanwhile, McCall decides to remain in Altomonte and joins the residents in celebrating their football team's victory, marking the conclusion of their collective triumph over the criminal organization.